Hi, welcome back to another episode of ColdstreamRodshop. I'm Derek Fraser. For those of you who have been following us, Brenda's Roadster body, the 32 Roadster, has gone out for paint. The 32 flat, or the flathead for the 32 Brenda's Roadster, along with the transmission, has gone back with the owner. He's going to complete the engine, put the flywheel and clutch and everything back into it before it comes back here. I'm not sure when it's going to come back. I don't know whether all that stuff is going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. I'll let you know and we'll carry on with the episodes. In the meantime, the gentleman that owns Brenda's Roadster, he dropped off this 35 or 36 Ford truck bed. It is a reproduction. He put it together a while ago and had it painted. He has the wood strips, but they all need to be refinished. We've got the stainless steel strips here too, but there's a curveball with this. What he wants us to do is make it so that the battery box is inside of the truck bed. Now I did something like that on our 32 Ford pickup. We're going to try and get that done this week. We'll get this up on some, horses or some. We'll jack her up and we'll get working onto it. And then another thing we got to do, we've got to fix the grill shell for Brenda's Roadster. The insert here does not fit it. I got ahead of myself. I have that done, so watch along. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, what we had to do for that. And then over on the Camera Lady's Roadster, we're going to finish off the exhaust. I got to get that done this week. It's taken me too long. The other thing that's on the plate to start working on is the 58 Ford cab. It has to go back to the owner the middle of January. We've got to get some coating on the underneath and then get some primer on the metal and then get that down off and onto a cart so we can get it out of here. So lots to do here this week. I'm going to do as much of it as I can, so follow along. So we're just going to do a couple last minute things before the 32 body goes up to get painted. There was a few things on the front here that I had to drill holes for. I don't know if you can see them or not, but there's a bracket that goes here that holds the center strip for the front hood. So those holes, we wanted to drill them before it was painted. And then the hood support holes. There's rods that go from, there's a little bracket that goes here on the firewall, and then the rod goes to the radiator, so those had to be drilled in. And then in the back, these just came in the other day. They're 48 Chevy taillights right there. I kind of like the 39 Ford ones, but the gentleman, this is a really classic hot rod style kind of thing. It's used the 48 Chev ones. I think there's a round Pontiac one that they commonly use too. So between the three of them, it's pretty much the go-to it for signal lights. So what I've done here on the back of the tail pan, I laid out in just some masking tape, as you see. The plan is to put the license plate in the center and either have a light above it or a light below it or whatever the case is, but the license plate's going here. So that's 11 inches. So what I plan to do, I put where the license plate's going to go, and then whatever the distance was here to the other side of the pan, I split the difference. And I found the center line of where the hole was. And then these didn't come with a template, so I kind of screwed around with a piece of paper there, folded it in half, and which kind of gave me like a cross thing so I could line that up. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these holes out and drill the holes. There is actually a left and a right taillight, didn't know that, but they're marked. And then the screws are actually off center, so there's a high one here and one on the center. Want to make sure I get those right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut these out, clean up the holes before it goes out for paint. There are the taillights mounted in. I cut the holes. I just took one of my 1932 Nova Scotia license plates there, put some masking tape on it to kind of center it there just to show the proportions from side to side. When I didn't have the license plate on, it kind of looked kind of funny, but with the license plates mounted on the tail pan and then the lights, centered in the space beside them, it gives some good proportion there. So those lights are just kind of hanging in there right now. I drilled the holes for them. I didn't want to drill the holes once I came back from paint, so got that in right now, and probably in the next few minutes they're going to be coming to pick up the body. So done everything we could to get it prepped and put as many holes into it as we needed to, so that we didn't have to do them after it's painted. So anyway, off to the next step. One more thing I have to do before I move on to the next project is that with Brenda's Roadster, we got a 32 grill shell that came with it, and then we get an insert. Now the grill shell is a Brookfield Roadster grill shell, not unlike some of the other ones I had before. The insert itself is an import grill shell. One of the things I recommend you do if you're going to get a reproduction shell and insert is you buy them together, that they've been fitted together. One of the issues I've came across in the past a couple times now is that the Brookfield Roadster shells, the inside is too small. Don't know how else to put it. It sucks, but that's really what's going on, at least for the import grills. Now for my 29 Model A, it took me about 2.5 hours. I actually called Brookfield and I talked to the gentleman there that assembled stuff, told me exactly what he had to do. He says, you know, when you have their grill shells and you have the import insert, you basically have got to beat the inside of the grill shell in. It takes quite a while. It looks pretty ugly right here because unfortunately this grill shell was, they thought that it had already been fitted, but it was not. So it's got epoxy primer and high build primer onto it. So you've got to be pretty aggressive with it to stretch out the material on the inside here so that that grill shell, the grill will fit in it. So if you can see right here, there's nothing that I can do. Like it's off probably 3/16 of an inch. It doesn't fit all that well across the top. Along the sides is not so bad. Even this insert, if I flip it over, for example, I only got one hand here. Hopefully I won't lose it. I'll flip it over here gently. You have to roll these edges over a little bit, and then you've got to bend this in so that the side of the stainless steel isn't sticking out too much. So the process basically is that you put the grill in the shell. I'm going to try and do this here. Oops, sorry about that. And like now, that fits fine. I've got a little bit more work to do onto it, but essentially once you start getting it to fit inside of the shell, then you're going to go around with the feeler gauge and you're going to find for the tight spots. So right now there's one right there. So I would take a piece of masking tape. I would mark that spot, and I would come around with my hammer after I take the grill shell out, and I'm going to tap that lightly on the inside so I can stretch some metal here. So I would continue to work my way around here and find the tight spots. There's another one there, so I'll put a piece of masking tape in here. But this insert actually fit that grill shell the same way it did that one there. Now I've got another Brookfield Roadster grill shell up there on the wall. Fits exactly the same way. I have another insert, another import one from another company over in the other garage. It had the same situation. So, and again, anyways, highly recommend that if you're going to buy a grill shell and an insert, buy them together, fitted together, and that way you're not going to go through this. But if by chance you have a shell and an insert, they don't fit, this is what you got to do. This morning when I came out, I decided I was going to fit the camera lady's insert to her grill shell. Since I'd already just gone through the process of doing Brenda's Roadster's grill and working it through, I had all my tools out and kind of in the swing of things. So it's like, might as well do this one as well. Now, the one thing I did notice is that this grill insert is not the same quality as this one. This one seems to be a little more petite. It's not as deep, and actually took a little bit less work to fit it. I still had to do the same basic thing, was with basically, beat in around the inside of the grill shell, just not as extreme as what we had to do with this one. I'm just going to pop this out here, and I hope I don't lose it. Okay, there we go. So this grill shell, this grill insert, like, it isn't as thick here. And one of the things I was able to do is just basically go around with the hammer, in addition to working the inside here all the way around and basically forming a lip. And another thing, I'm gonna grab this metal piece here. The other thing that I had to do was actually, the bottom lip seems to be where it's tilted in too much. So I just had this piece, it's a piece of spring steel that I use as a dolly. I was able to prop it in there and actually bend this bottom lip out some, which gave me some more clearance. Because I saw a lot of interference between the bottom lip and where the crank hole is right here. So there's a little piece of trim. So in combination of working my way all the way around with the hammers, I'll show you. This is a hammer that I just found somewhere. It's kind of held together with nails. But what I did is, over time, this was not a contour that I had on my other hammers. I rounded this contour off. So I grabbed this hammer and I was able to just work my way around here gently all the way around, putting the insert in and out, using the feeler gauge and marking the spot where it was tightest, and then just tapping it in. And in the last little bit, like I said, this insert seems to be a little more delicate than what the other one was. The other one there is thicker. Just using my little body hammer to tap in these edges here. And actually we've got a good fit now. So what I've got to do now is, I may have mentioned it, I have to transfer these holes here and that one over on Brenda's grill shell. So that's up next. Well, got one more complication with regards to the grill shells. None of the grill shells have the holes for the stainless steel trim to be added on to the grill shells. Now, a lot of people don't put this stainless steel trim all the way around. You go for the little bit more plain and painted look. But in both cases, for Brenda's Roadster, we want to put it on. And then for the camera lady's Roadster, on her grill shell, we want to put it on. But none of the grill shells have it. Now, fortunately, over on the 32 pickup, we did have a Ventique grill that came with the holes drilled and a reinforcing tab onto it. So essentially what I'm doing here is I am kind of mocking the stainless steel trim on where it would approximately be after it's tightened down. And you got to cut a clearance hole for where this threaded rod comes through, right there. And then I'm making the piece in two pieces. There's like a reinforcing strip that's welded on them from the factory, or at least on the manufactured one. So it's kind of hard to do it in two pieces here, but essentially I make this piece on the inside and this tab, which will go up there. And then after it's all welded, it looks like this. So I'm going to put that right up there like that. And then you can see how once you put like a 10, I think it's a 1032 nut onto it, that would tighten everything down, and it actually covers up the hole in there. Now, I measured these on both sides, approximately where the threads would go through. But at the same time, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to finish making up these for the one side. And I'm going to switch and make one to the left. And what I did I had my spare grill here, which was just basically a wall hanger, has no holes drilled into it whatsoever. And I'm making my first pass on this one. And then once I know for sure everything's in the right place, I'm going to make up basically 3 sets of these pieces. I'm going to weld one set onto the wall hanger grill, then I'm going to go weld a set onto Brenda's grill, and then do one on a camera lady's grill. So fingers crossed, we've got this right, but going in the right direction right now. Well, I think I got it. Spent way too much time making these simple little brackets that go on the bottom of the grill shell. I don't know if there's a simpler way of doing it or not. The original ones had like a small little sheet metal stamping, and then basically they cut a hole in the outside of the grill shell for this little threaded rod to go into. I tried my best to make one with pounding a piece of metal, but didn't work, but resorted to making these little welded pieces. So right now I've got most of them made up. I've done a trial fit with the stainless steel trim on this rusty 32 grill. It's a Brookfield grill. I used to keep it hanging up over there on the wall, and that's where it's going to go back. But for now, kind of using this as the sacrificial one to make up these little brackets and figure out where to cut the holes. So right now, what I'm going to do, I've got 3 of those made up, and I've got 1 of those made up. So I'll finish making the other 2 of these, and then I'll take them off, make a pattern for the hole, and then I'll start cutting holes in the camera lady's Roadster grill shell, and then we'll do the same thing to Brenda's grill shell, and we'll get all holes all punched in and basically ready to accept the stainless steel trim. So I went from working on the surplus grill shell, like I said, and now I've got the first one done on the camera lady's grill shell. As you can see, the bracket now I've tack welded it in place. I've got the nut in place, and this basically is the way they look from the outside, even as close as you can to the factory. That little stud fits down into a groove behind there, and then there's a 1032 nut that pulls that stainless steel trim up and around. For whatever reason, like this is a seconds grill shell. These holes are slightly at a different height than what these ones are, but anyways, it doesn't matter, because when you put the little welting across here, you basically make it to fit anyways. So we're still golden on that. The welting will come along here and pretty much covers everything up to this point. The stainless steel trim covers everything. It's on there reasonably good. It's never a perfect fit. There's a little bit of a gap up here. The only thing you could do is probably trim a little bit of stainless steel here so that it fits a little tighter. But none of them were absolutely perfect anyways. So anyways, we've got that stainless steel trim on the camera lady's grill shell. Now we're going to do the same thing on Brenda's. There's the camera lady's grill for her Roadster. I've got the insert in place. It fits pretty good. We've got the stainless steel trim fitted around the outside, like I said. And I've got the rest of the holes drilled for the radiator bezel. A couple other holes are drilled, so all the holes are done on her grill shell. Then for Brenda's Roadster, we've got the brackets welded in place, all the holes cut, the stainless steel trim in place, it fits. I've got all the holes drilled here to hold the grill shell in place, and then up at the top, we had to cut out these little notches for there's like a cotton welting that goes around here that hooks into the bottom here, hooks in the top, and then the hood rests on it. These holes had to be drilled as well. So we finally got everything drilled on Brenda's Roadster's grill shell. So I'm going to strip it apart here. Might do a little bit of deburring on some of the holes, and then the grill shell is going to go back up with the Roadster body and all the other parts to get painted. Unfortunately, it took way too long, or I didn't predict how much time it was going to take to do all of this, because I didn't know that the inserts wouldn't fit well. I knew of the inserts not fitting. I just didn't know that they didn't fit on this specific one. But anyways, we've got it all resolved. We've got both grill shells all done up. I'll flip that over there. Hopefully the insert doesn't pop out because it's not held in place. So there is Brenda's Roadster's grill and grill shell, and there is the camera lady's grill and grill shell. So not a lot of time left here to finish off this video. I'm going to try and get something else done. This episode was basically grill shells and inserts so far. Hi, we're back on the road today. We decided to go for a little bit of a drive and visit Greg here. So Greg Melanson is the guy that bought the 32 sedan from a friend of ours. It was stored, it was a project stored at our property. Greg saw it on our YouTube channel, reached out to us, and kind of gone back and forth over the past while. So Greg decided to take this on as a project. He used to have a 32 sedan in when 70
about 85.
85.
Yeah.
And then 87s, you went to the Street Rod Nationals with it.
In Knoxville, Tennessee, yeah.
And then got the long distance award for it. Yeah. And then how long after that did you sell it? It was
within a year or two. I couldn't keep it. Life got in the way, and I found myself in a bit of a mess, and it had to go, and so it moved on down the road, and
so now
it took
is
40 years to replace it.
To get another one.
Yeah.
So anyway, Greg has got it. He went down to the States to Carlisle or whatever, and he's bought himself a Brookfield frame, fenders, running boards, grill shell, suspension, everything. And now we're on to basically kind of making a couple of the fixes onto it, which there's not a lot of fixes, but there's significant ones.
Yeah.
So right now he's been brainstorming on how to kind of fix the fender well on this, and between, I guess, what he's done and kind of my experiences on the 5-window coupes, I think he's come up with a plan so far as what to do. But basically make a fender well here, or a fender lip here, and then he'll come from behind and put an inner fender well. Those are coupe fenders, right? The same as what I put on the 32 pickup.
Yeah, they are coupe or Roadster fenders, and I had the choice to buy sedan fenders, which are like those there with the cutout, and that cutout is simply to make room for the back seat,
right,
inside the car, because otherwise the fender, as is the case with these, the fender is 6 inches into the car. And if you have a back seat, but you need to have a place for people, you don't need that. But the man at Brookville told me when I was humming and hawing about whether I wanted sedan fenders or coupe, he said they were the same fender except for the cutout. So I said, well, why don't you let me have these fenders, and if I need to or want to,
you can cut them out.
I'll make the cutout.
You could do it both ways. You could either do the cutout and put a sedan inner fender well, or kind of like what I did with the 32 pickup, adjust the inside to suit where the fenders are.
And I'm not convinced.
You've also got more room
for a big tire.
For a bigger tire if you stick with the coupe / Roadster
exactly.
fenders, right? So.
And I'm not convinced. It's early days, of course, but I did see a 32 built by Big Oak Garage. It's called Gold Mine or Gold Dust. It's absolutely gorgeous. And they eliminated the back seat. They mounted a cooler and a spare tire, and I thought that was the slickest thing ever. So I'm not sure what I'm doing here yet, but my priority right now is to figure out how to continue with what I've started with and get this made, do the other side, and then put the frame together with the motor and the transmission in the rear and get all that fit so that I can put it together and then blow it all apart for paint.
But basically now you got pretty much the direction you're going in. You've got the motor picked out and the transmission's being rebuilt.
Yeah, the motor's at the machine shop
all
now.
your suspension and everything over there.
Yeah.
So really kind of moving forward quite a bit. I think you said you still have to buy a hood and a grille, right?
Gotta buy a hood and a grille, bumpers, headlight bar, headlights, taillights, a new I have a gas tank, but it's got some damage and it's not the best, so I'm gonna buy a new one.
But I think the tanks ones, you can get an oversized tank too.
You can? Yeah, I think you get 11 gallon or 14 or 15 or something, but
You have that flexibility if you choose.
Oh, yeah.
those anyways,
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah. And I have a new red that's at the new red core at the red shop now, so I can build myself a red. And anyway, it doesn't look like much, but
no, it's
I'm sure there's a car in there somewhere.
no, there is. I mean, they're just that all the parts are blown apart right now.
Yeah.
You've gone from having just the body
Yeah.
to now at least you've got all the parts and the direction, the engine trans,
I
rear
got
end,
yeah, yeah.
everything.
It's going to be a.
This is just the mind bender here right
Oh
now.
yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around.
But there is a solution.
Oh,
to
yeah.
it. It's just, you know.
I figure that they put a man on the moon. I gotta be able to fix an old Ford, but it's going to be a 5-liter Ford motor out of an '88 Lincoln with an overdrive automatic
transmission.
and 9-inch Ford rear, and that also came from Brookville, and so we'll make a car out of it.
But in the meantime, since you got your 32 sedan,
Yeah.
you were working on a 39 Chrysler.
I was.
Did an extreme amount of work on this thing.
I did, yeah.
You know, you kind of did the same or a little more than what I did for the 40 Plymouth. You put the Mustang 2 front end into it, and you even put the frame horns onto the front with a sway bar that I didn't do for the 40 Plymouth. And you said that's a 360.
1995 Dodge Magnum 360 motor out of a Dodge pickup,
Right.
and an overdrive Dodge transmission. And initially my plan was to remove all the EFI stuff and put a carburetor on it. But I stumbled across a guy, I heard about a guy in Nebraska that made wire harnesses for these Magnum motors. And so I sent him my wire harness.
Mm-hmm.
He dissected it all and took all the wires out for stuff that you didn't need. When I sent him the harness, it was as big around as my arm, and when it came back, it was as big around as my finger. But anyway, I put it all together, and much to my surprise, it runs.
So basically,
with an EFI.
it's a running project right now,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't have, you've got all the fenders and everything, the hood, everything for it.
I've got the when I brought the car home, it was complete, and I did find a set of new old stock rear fenders. So there is the original fenders that were on the car that are rusty. A new old stock set of fenders. I do have the front fenders that need some repair. I've got all the 4 doors and the hood and the grille, and the seats are the seats are reupholstered. Not a tremendous job, but the seats are all reupholstered. They probably would need doing again, but I do have the seats. I've got the whole car. I've got 2 boxes of I sent all the grill work off the car to electroplating of El Paso in El Paso, Texas.
Wow.
There's all the front brake work is
All
done.
re-chromed. Holy smokes.
Yeah,
That costs an absolute mint.
yeah, it was pretty high. And there's there's the center grill bar. There's 19 grill bars,
Wow.
and every one.
Those are near impossible to get.
Oh yeah, well, especially for 39 Chrysler, you know, they're if it was a 39 or a 40 Ford, you
You
can
get
buy
reproduction ones or whatever, right?
Nobody makes parts for a 39 Chrysler.
But
But
you've
there's 19 of these, and they're all chromed, all redone. New old stock. I found new old stock taillight bezels
Holy smokes.
that were rusty. Not pitted. They were new old stock, but they were starting to pit.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent those to El Paso, and so all the brake work for the front of the car, all the grille, the hood bird, everything is. There's 2 boxes of all the new chrome pieces, or all the pieces re-chromed, and I have the bumpers here. They're not chromed, but I have the whole car.
And I saw the doors over there. The doors are in really good shape, aren't they?
They are. 3 of them are excellent. One of them needs a little bit of repair on the bottom inside, but the other 3, and it's not bad. It's that the other 3 doors are real good.
And it looks like you did more of the floor though. You did the entire floor.
I did the whole floor. The very first section
Is a panel. Yeah, it's a bolt-in panel.
And it's over there. I had to repair it, so it's repaired, and then I made. This piece here is original,
Right.
but I made a new left side and a new right side, and then from there back,
The whole thing.
everything is new, and I've got about a foot at the very tail end
That's
to do that I will finish, as well as the tail pan on the back of the car.
right.
It is new. It's done. The tail pan is done, but I just got about a foot of floor to do with the tail, and so it's all done. There's a newly rebuilt 8-inch Ford rear with a brand new 355 gear set, new brakes, new drums, new bearings, new seals, new wheels, new tires, new radiator that I built, 16-inch spall fan that's thermostatically
But like I said, you've got the key there, so you can actually turn it and it'll run like
it'll
right
run.
now as it stands. So.
It has run just like some initial break-in time, although they say roller cam motors don't need break-in time, but I still think they need to run a little bit. But anyway, power steering, there's a power brake booster here and master cylinder and proportioning valve, and
So it's basically a complete project.
it's still
everything
a
is-
project, but it's a lot of work is done, and
Well, all the
I
hard
was-
stuff is done.
all the hard stuff is done.
All the hard stuff
And
is
I was
done.
working on this until that.
Until that.
So now,
so
so
here's-
this is going to get shoved in the corner or sold or.
Here's the punchline. Anybody interested in a 39 Chrysler, almost complete project?
Chrysler Royal, it's
Chrysler
called.
Royal.
Yeah, 1939 Chrysler Royal.
Reach out to us. We'll put our email address here. Send us an email. We'll get you in touch with Greg. We're not going to we don't mention prices on the channel, but we'll put our email in the video here. Reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with Greg if you're interested in this. The other thing also we want to mention that he has here that you might be interested in is over here on the floor. Some of the early Hemi guys might be interested in this. There's a 276 DeSota Hemi 1952 engine. It was running, I think, when you got it, wasn't it? Or
It hadn't run in years, but the guy bought it in PEI, drove it home to New Brunswick, and in 1962 or 3 or way back, with plans of putting that Hemi motor in another Dodge that he had that had a flathead 6 in it. And 40, 50 years went by, it never happened. And I bought the motor, took it out myself.
Yep.
And
But there's no damage to it. It's fully
No,
rebuildable.
yeah.
As far as you can tell,
It was full-
it's standard bore.
should
As far as
be.
we can tell. And I think you said he told you it had 40,000 original miles on it.
That's what he told me,
Yeah.
but I have no way to verify that. But
So these are the heads for it here. So DeSoto, Fire Dome. Yeah, all the parts, the complete.
yeah, the whole motor's here.
Yeah, anyway.
I never tried to run it. I just took it apart because I wouldn't start it. You know,
Nope.
from sitting that many years, I wouldn't start it without knowing.
These things are getting harder and harder to find. So if someone's looking for a DeSoto 276 DeSoto Hemi to rebuild, again, reach out to us at our email address. We'll put you in touch with Greg. So anyway, that's our quick tour here. I might have rambled a little bit more, but I kind of get excited when I see some of these old cars and the projects. We will come back when Greg gets further along here, and we'll show you what's going on with the 32 sedan. So lots of 32 projects in Nova Scotia. This is one more. Like I said, I wanted to try and get something else done before we finish the video off. Didn't really expect the grill shells and fitting the inserts to kind of dominate the entire week, but that's the way it goes. One thing I can say is if you're talking or actually if you're thinking about putting the stainless steel trim around the back of your grill shell, I would make sure I bought the grill shell with the little holes into it, because for the amount of work that we went through to adapt it to grills that weren't already pre-drilled or had those neat little metal stampings on the back of them, it's not worth your time and effort. Can be done if you've got time. Certainly you can do it. You just got to fiddle around for a lot of time in order to get it done. Our grills, we just happen to have 3 of them that weren't done that way, so kind of cost effective for us to do it. First one took the most, second one a little bit longer, and the third one I knew what I was doing. So right now we've got the grill shell for Brenda's Roadster ready to go out up to Jeff York's restoration, along with the 32 Ford Roadster body to get painted. I put our extra grill shell up there on the wall. I didn't drill the rest of the holes into it because ultimately it's a wall hanger for now. It might be used for something else that doesn't need all the other holes. Worst case worse, we can weld those up later on. So just going to leave that the way that it is. The one for the camera lady's Roadster, I just put over in the other building with the epoxied body. Everything is all the holes are done into it. The last thing to do with that ultimately was when it gets, we'll fit it. We'll paint it, and then we'll fit it kind of on the radiator. And then, like I said, I wanted to get something done on this exhaust. The exhaust, I've been talking about it, I think, for 3 episodes now. It was always the last thing to do. You work on your own stuff last, of course. So what I ultimately decided, along with the camera lady, was that we are going to go with the exhaust coming out behind the rear wheel on a 45-degree angle. Now, some of you suggested going along underneath the frame rail. Still have the option to change that later because I can easily cut this and then bring a pipe out. But for now, I kind of actually like the way that it looks just exiting behind the rear wheel. The hangers, I kind of started working on the hangers. I like these triangle style hangers to go on the back because it actually provides lateral support. But I need to go get some more threaded rod to finish this up. So although we get it started, we're in the right direction. Still can't finish it. I'll have to finish it next week. So anyways, come back next week. We got lots to work on in the shop. The box is over there. 58 cabs got to get going. Got lots of work to do on the camera lady's Roadster. So come see us next week. So please like, share, tag, and subscribe. Send me your comments, and see you next week.